Okay, well, we have quorum, and thank you to everyone for being so timely today. So this January 13th, 2025 regular meeting of the Fairfax County School Board Audit Committee will now come to order. We will now vote to approve the minutes of the November 18, 2024 meeting of the Audit Committee. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? And that passes unanimously. Thank you all. So with that, we just have a couple of items before we go into closed meeting today. First of which is the FY24 Office of Auditor General Annual Report. So I will turn it over to General Ko for that.
Thank you, Chairman. So good afternoon, everyone. So today I am really happy to share the fiscal year 24 OAG Office of Auditor General Annual Report with you all. And first of all, I would like to thank the author, the main author of this report, who is Danielle here. Danielle is our Deputy Auditor General, General Moore. Deputy General Moore. And we also have Nora here. Nora is our newest member, who is our Auditor 1. And Nora is also a fresh graduate from George Mason University. So we are very happy to have her here. So I also want to thank all my team members too who are here with us, because we have all worked very hard together to get the audits, the fraud, waste, and abuse inquiries and training programs completed. So thank you. It is indeed a very big team effort to accomplish all the tasks that the school board and the audit committee has delegated to us. So within the annual report, we first talked about the structure of Office of Auditor General, whom we report directly under the school board and the audit committee. And this is very important because independence is very critical for the success for a internal audit function. So within the annual report, if we can go to page 4, it talks a little bit more about the measurement of our value. So we included indicators there where we compare us against the Council of Great City Schools. So the latest information that we received from the council was back in 2022. So I apologize here that the comparison is a little bit aged, but we know that the Council of Great City Schools is actually in the process of collecting data from the Internal Audit Office, because I'm one of their interviewees, so to speak. So they're in the process of collecting data. So I'm sure that in the next reporting phase, we can compare to more up-to-date data. But with that comparison, as you can see, for the various data or factors that we can include, OAG is operating more effectively and efficiently than the other school districts. And then also on the next page, which is page 5, you can see that OAG has always been administering the after audit, the post-audit surveys with our users. We try to keep the questions very objective because sometimes it can be difficult, right? You are asking your auditees to give feedback on the auditor. So we try to keep all these 8 questions very objective. So whether we deliver a timely audit management letter, did we have the entrance and exit meeting, was there any surprises from the audit, etc. So as you can see, we got 100% of all the ratings, so we are very proud of that, and also the continuous collaboration with our stakeholders. And then with that, then I would like to go to the 4 pillars of the OAG work. So the first pillar is about risk assessment and the audit plan, which is on page 6 exactly. Thank you, Clark. So we identified all the audit topics through an extensive process, which we call as risk assessment, and including independent review of all the hot topics in the industry. We analyzed financial and operational factors and past audits, school board and audit committee interest. Last year, process document is included as a link. If the clerk can scroll down a little bit further on that page, yes. So there will link that you can go back to the documents itself or the presentation to find out more. And we also listed out all the fiscal year 25 audit plan topics here on page 6. which is the 1 to 10, thank you. And we are processing all the audits on time. And next month, we are very excited that we're in the final phase of wrapping up item 5, which is the critical process review for hiring. We are also wrapping up item 7, which is the procurement process audit, which we plan to present to the audit committee in the February meeting. And then with that, I would like to move on to talk about internal audit. So again, this is the core bread and butter for what we do within OAG. And I would like to defer to the details to Danielle, who will walk us through towards the end of this presentation. Then next on page 8 is the fraud, waste, and abuse hotline that we maintained. So last year, we have received a total of 79 cases. All the themes of what kind of like the types of situations that we received is listed on this page. So as you can see, the number have increased, and the questions that I got many times is it that we have received like the situation at FCPS may not be go as well, that's why we have more concerns. My interpretation on that is not. It's more about the awareness of the hotline that people are using it, that really see something, say something, so we receive a lot more situation so that we can prevent a concern from being a concern, so which is a very good story to tell. So I encourage that our audit committee to continue to advocate about this means to report to our community members or to our staff members so that they can continue to report in a situation. And so with that, we can move forward to our last pillar of our work, which is outreach and education, as listed on page 9 here. We have done a lot in this area, but just to highlight a few major accomplishments. The first one is about the audit bus, and I hope that all of you here have signed up to receive this audit bus. And of course, I'm not going to audit who have and who did not. But the subscription numbers have been going up. We are now over 4,800 subscriptions. And we try to summarize our audit results in a short and sweet version that the stakeholders could easily understand. We can also promote our fraud, waste, and abuse hotline and other education opportunities within the bus as well. And then next, we have done a lot of training and education. So first of all, I would like to thank our Office of Comptroller. Our Comptroller is here with us. For the P2P conference, they always include OAG to be part of the presenters. And I know that there are a lot of topics that they can present, and I really appreciate that they always save a space for us. And then also at the leadership kickoff, want to thank our Chief of Staff, Mr. Marty Smith, and also our Superintendent. Oftentimes, they willing to give me some time to be able to have that opportunity to speak to all the school-based administrators in that meeting, so that to set the tone for the upcoming year, the importance of audit. And in the past presentation, if I may just talk about that, is because if you recall, it was during the Olympics timeframe. So we were able to link the Paris, P-A-R-I-S, with audits. If you wonder how the linkage worked, you can look at page 10 of this report. Another fun fact that I found at the time was that the Olympics also has an audit committee, just like us, to promote transparency and compliance. Their audit committee meets every month to talk about all matters related to risk assessment and also risk management and financial accounting methods. So sure enough, at FCPS, we have met the global standard. And then the last item I want to highlight is that OAG continue to serve as the Certified National Association of State Boards of Accountancy, CPE provider, sorry about the long name, but essentially what it is that it is a national organization that provide certified CPE, continued professional education. And we are certified to do that. And I just checked today on the board, they have over 2,000 sponsors. And the only K-12 organization that I can find there is FCPS. So we are very proud that OAG can provide training to all our employees who may be certified public accountants, etc. at no cost, because if those credits you have to pay outside, it can be expensive. So with that, the last thing, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to Danielle, is about the reconfirming about the quality of OAG work. That we have a peer review program that every 3 years we will receive external review to check OAG work and confirm if we are following the government auditing standard or not. So the last peer review that we obtained was back in 2023, and we got a pass with no management comments. That is the highest level of results that we can get. And the last thing I want to touch upon is also the certification. At OAG, we have different alphabet certification, including certified public accountant, certified internal auditors, certified fraud examiner, certified information system auditors. So it is another assurance that we process our audits and also the fraud, waste, and abuse cases according to the industry standard. So with that, I would like to pass the time to Danielle to briefly walk us through the audits that we completed.
Yes, thank you, Esther. Okay, so I'm going to refer to the audits that we've completed on page 11. You see our beautiful matrix that we have here. We completed 8 performance audits and 9 business process audits for FY24. And I'll just go over at a high level what those audits were. So our first audit was food and nutrition services. During this audit, we found 2 moderate, 1 low risk, and 2 observations. So 2 moderate findings, 1 low risk findings, and 2 observations. And so those findings were related to internal control weaknesses, such as inadequate segregation of duties, lack of integrated systems, and monitoring by operations specialists. We also had a finding as it relates to the use of benchmarking and key performance indicators in facilities, in food and nutrition services. And another finding that we had was relating to needing to update the food and nutritional services regulation. For our second audit, which was facilities maintenance, we identified 1 high-risk finding, 4 moderate findings, and 1 observation. One of the findings was related to noted internal control deficiencies related to workflow approvals and work order documentation that is maintained in TeamWorks, which is facilities maintenance management system. We also identified finding related to utilizing benchmarking and key performance indicators to measure their work, as well as not having a comprehensive process to ensure compliance with federal, state, and other regulations, other requirements. Our third audit is related to grants. For the grants audit, we identified 1 moderate risk finding and 1 observation. The moderate risk finding was related to the grants that are issued at the school level, not complying with the FCPS grant process and grant requirements. And the 1 observation we noted was as it relates to needing to update the regulation and the grants manual. Our fourth audit, which is our IT systems access audit, is exempt from disclosure, so I'm going to skip that one here. Our fifth audit is our local school activities fund audit. This is the audit that we do every year, and this one is related to June 30th, 2024. We did not identify any findings as it relates to this audit, but we did have an observation related to compliance with applicable policies and regulations. And so this is related to those processes like cash receipts, cash disbursements, and accounting procedures. And in this audit, we noted that out of the 202 sites, exceptions for noncompliance were noted at 92 sites, excuse me. Our sixth audit is our continuous monitoring audit, and we do this for appropriated and non-appropriated funding. This is performed on a quarterly basis. And for the non-appropriated funding, we use this as a sample for our local school activity funds audit. So the results of this particular audit will roll up into our local school activities funds audit for those non-appropriated fundings. And then for appropriated, we'll kind of measure and assess to see if a business process audit is needed, if we're having issues that were noted as it relates to appropriated funding. So for this particular one, continuous monitoring that we did for each quarter, out of 204 sites, 112 sites had no exceptions noted, 49 sites exceptions noted in 3 or fewer areas, and 1 site had exceptions noted in 4 areas. And we had 1 site that had exceptions noted in 6 areas. And we did this on a sampling basis, and we had 41 sites that did not have any transactions appear in our sample. Okay, for our seventh audit, our seventh and our eighth audit, these were some continuous monitoring programs that we use as a pilot for FY24. We use analytical software to review and test controls as it related to my time and online travel. So for my time, the scope of the audit included time and attendance data reported in the my time system. And for online travel, the scope of the audit focused on non-local travel expenses for the first quarter of FY24. And during these two reviews, we did not identify any areas of concern. Okay, so those are our 8 business process audits. We had 8 performance audits, Going forward, we have 9 business process audits, which were conducted at 1 office and 8 schools. In total, there were 3 moderate risk findings and 19 low risk findings that were identified. Those findings were related to timeliness of reconciliation, sufficient documentation, accounting procedures related to bank reconciliations, personnel payments, and outstanding deposits. So those were the performance audits and business process audits. That's at a high level, those were the results of those audits. And with these audits, we'll conduct audit follow-up. And so for our performance audits, we'll conduct follow-up on any high, moderate, or low findings. For our business process audits, we'll conduct audit follow-up on those moderate and high findings, not the low findings. So as it relates to audit recommendation follow-up for FY24, at the beginning of FY24, there were 7 recommendations from prior audits that were outstanding. During the year, OAG was able to make 21 new recommendations as a result of the audit work performed and close 14 recommendations. So as of July 31st, which is our most recent reporting period, and in a minute we'll hear from Monia, and she'll kind of walk us through our next reporting period as of October 31st. There were 14 outstanding recommendations that remain. So with that, I would like to turn the time back over to Ryan.
Wonderful. Thank you, Deputy General Moore. Any questions or comments on this review? Yes, Mr. Moon.
Thank you for the report. I have just a couple of questions to have a better understanding of some parts of your presentation. Let me find the page where you had your goal was to have a 90% of yeses in all, and you were able to obtain 100%. So when it says number 5, communication and findings, what does yes indicate to that? Is that you are effective in communications and findings were easily understandable?
Yeah,
see what that meant.
Yeah. So, Mr. Moon, we are trying to find the exact question so that we can share with you. Maybe you can go ahead with the other questions for us, so Danielle can have some time to search that.
Okay, let me see. I thought I had one more in that graph. So number 7 as well, a proposed feasible audit recommendations. Whether the question was, it's a feasibility or is that there were recommendations?
Okay, to answer your first question.
Okay.
Number 5, so the question is, did the OAG team share preliminary findings and or observations related to this audit on a regular basis during fieldwork?
Okay, that's 100% yes.
Yes.
Okay, what about number 7, proposed feasible?
Number 7?
Number 7, yes ma'am.
Do you believe that the proposed audit recommendations can be feasibly implemented?
It's a feasibility then?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, and then the next one has to do with what's on page number 8. And I understood what the Auditor General said about number going up from 47 to 79. You gave a pretty good positive spin in the increase in number. So is the higher the number always the better then? Or will there be a certain point after which you will start having concerns?
So great question, Mr. Moon. So we actually organize a DMV auditor group. We try to understand what is the right number of fraud, waste, and abuse, right? We need to get some benchmarking in the industry. Unfortunately, what I found is that each internal audit kind of structured differently. Sometimes this fraud, waste, and abuse hotline is not managed under internal audit. They may be managed by the legal division counsel office and then cover more contents than just fraud, waste, and abuse. So it's all, in comparison, it's always apple and orange when we try to find out what is the reasonable number. And when I make the comment about the increase from 40-some to 80-some,
47 to 79.
thank you, to 79, is when I looked at the nature of the claims that were reported to us, is something, for example, I just did a training, for example, with the school-based administrators. That always trigger more calls. So I can actually link what we have done over in training, and then we get more calls.
So I, as a member of audit committee, and as a school board member, what I need to know, what I need to hear from you as an expert is, when should I start getting worried?
I think right now we don't need to worry.
So when should I start getting worried? That's what I want to hear from you, so that when I see that number, I should ask you more probing questions.
I think we shouldn't just be worried or not by a number alone, right? We have to look into the nature of the situations that were brought forth to us. And some of them may require more attention from the audit committee, which I will be sharing with you all either in a public setting or in a closed meeting setting based upon the nature of what they are.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I, as someone who needs to hold you accountable for your work, need to have some sort of a standard by which I should hold you accountable if you do not come back to report to us, because I cannot just wait until you tell us to worry about.
So great question. I mean, accountability is always a major thing for the success for the audit office, right? So I see this, Mr. Moon, as a comprehensive program. Like, fraud, waste, and abuse is only one piece of it. You will also hold us accountable for the audits that we completed, right? Do we complete the audits approved by the school board in a timely manner, and also according to the objective that we agreed to do? So that's that. And then the fraud, waste, and abuse to me is one piece of like the different like job responsibility that we do. How to hold us accountable, again, I mean, is what we set up in the beginning for our plan. And fraud, waste, and abuse is one piece that is very difficult to speculate. I cannot see the crystal ball, how many cases will come in. Can we do better? Of course. I mean, but what is the right number? Unfortunately, I could not share with you a number or when you will get, you are like on an alert mode. But I think it's a comprehensive program based upon the audit, based upon the fraud, waste, and abuse, based upon the trainings that we have done. Then you can make a comprehensive assessment on whether OAG is meeting the goals for the school board or if we are not.
I'll take this conversation offline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something? I think that just looking at that number, in some ways as an audit committee member, I look at an increased number of reported cases as actually being a good thing, because it indicates that the employees are more aware of fraud, waste, and abuse and things that they should be reporting and bringing to the OAG office. And like Esther said, I think really what we need to focus on more is the individual cases and what it is that what they're finding in those reports, and if there are, patterns in certain things. Like, we might want to be really concerned if there are things in use of assets that go way up or something like that. But just looking at the number itself, I'm not sure. Like I said, I kind of think with what's been going on, an increase in cases is actually a positive rather than a negative. It's just my opinion.
I was bringing that question up because you are reporting numbers, right? So what are the significances of, bringing number to our attention if numbers don't mean anything?
Sure. Maybe we can think more in the future, right? When we report upon how we're doing it, maybe in a different format, and bring some other indicators to go with the trend. And thank you, Mr. Moon, for that advice.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. Ms. Lady?
I just want to add that I appreciate the fact that you met with administrators. I don't recollect ever meeting with you as an administrator, because I do think, unfortunately, in any company as big as ours, there are definitely situations that need to be reported. But I was not aware of a confidential way to do that when I worked for the system. So I do think that training has created an uptick, but we do want our people to know they can trust to come forward when they think something is not right. And then again, as the Auditor General has shared, I think that depending on the findings of those, that would later determine maybe a heightened sense of worry, if you will. But right now, I'm seeing it the way that Nanette did, is just that this is more awareness.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for that one. And we're going to move on to the second item for discussion, which is the audit follow-up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be presenting the audit recommendation follow-up status as of October 31st of 2024. So as you can see, we currently have 6 audits with open recommendation. The first item, could please go to the next slide, please. The first item is related to the employee evaluation process audit. There is one open recommendation that it has been closed now. This recommendation is related to the employee monitoring process. During our follow-up, we verified that quality control checks have begun on the operation employee evaluation on a random sample basis. Next, we have food and nutrition services. There are 2 recommendations that are outstanding and are currently in process. The first recommendation is related to benchmarking and key performance indicators, or KPIs. Per management, FNS will leverage its new software system to generate KPIs reports, which will allow them to provide data-driven assessments. This action was originally scheduled to be implemented by fall 2024. Now, per management, we have a new implementation date of January 31st of 2025. Next recommendation is related to FNS regulations update. According to management, FNS has begun updating the regulation and expect to be completed by March 2025. Item number 3 is related to facilities maintenance process audit. We were able to close 6 recommendations by verifying that OFM has developed standard operating procedures, conducted customer surveys, and drafted a request for proposal, or RFP, to address the facilities condition assessment recommendation. We were also able to verify that key performance indicators, or KPI, have been established with results shared with leadership. Can we go to the next slides, please? Okay. Additionally, we have noted that there are 4 outstanding recommendations related to preventive maintenance and the existing OFM maintenance software. We noted that management have taken steps to address it. However, these actions are resource dependent and would like to bring it to the audit committee for discussion after this presentation. Next, we have the grants audit. We verified and closed 2 recommendations related to the grants application principal approval and educate grants requirements. We verified the Office of Controllers created a grants reference guide that clarifies the pre-approval process and requirements for grants from all grantors. Also, there is 1 recommendation to grants application training, which includes developing a process for schools to report all local school activity fund grants or LSAF grants. This recommendation is currently in process as Final Services FAST team has created an electronic LSAF grants reporting web form, and phase 2 testing is nearing completion. For our last follow-up audit, those are business process audit. We have Holmes Middle School. There is 1 outstanding recommendation related to non-bank reconciliation, which is now closed. We verified during our follow-up by reviewing 3 months of financial management reports, or FMR, and procurement card reconciliation, and noted that they were signed, reconciled, and approved in a timely manner. For Hollins Middle Elementary School, there are 2 recommendations related to monitoring of donation and payment to FCPS personnel. These recommendations are not due as of October 31st of 2024. So we will continue our follow-up on a quarterly basis on open items or outstanding recommendations. Our next follow-up will be as of January 31st and is scheduled to be presented at the March Audit Committee meeting.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Monia. Any questions or comments on this follow-up? Okay, seeing none, we will move to adjourn this meeting, and we will move to go into closed. So the board will now make a motion to go into closed meeting on December 19, 2024 to discuss personnel matters pursuant to the section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia, and 2, consult with legal counsel regarding specific matters requiring the provision of legal advice. Okay, sorry. January 13th, not December 19th. To discuss personnel matters pursuant to section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia, and 2, consult with legal counsel regarding specific matters requiring the provision of legal advice pursuant to section 2.23711A7 and A8 of the Code of Virginia, specifically personnel matters. All those?
Moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Moon, second by Ms. Lady. All those in favor? It is unanimous by audit committee members. So we are now in closed meeting. Thank you.